Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 18th, 2022 regular meeting of the Jersey Village City Council. The time is now 7:01 p.m., and I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum present?
Yes.
Great, thank you. That brings us to invocation and Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Drew Wasson.
Please stand for the invocation. O Lord, as we gather for tonight's meeting of this body, we thank you for all that you provide us. We thank you for the opportunity to gather, and we thank you for the great community, state, and country where we reside. Tonight, as we welcome new council members and renew the terms of others, may you grant wisdom to this body and all of our leaders throughout their terms. We pray for open hearts and minds in deliberation, fortitude to make decisions, and compassionate execution of our charges. May you watch over and protect our first responders and those who serve in our military. Please provide healing to the sick, peace and comfort to those who have lost loved ones, and a sense of reflection for the sacrifices of those whom we will honor on Memorial Day. Please remind us of the sense of pride and opportunity as we congratulate the newest graduates of Jersey Village High and other schools, and afford a safe summer to families in their adventures. Father, please remind us to give gratitude to those who assist, to show generosity to those in need, and to provide grace to ourselves. We pray for peace. Lord, we humbly ask this, and that you bless our city of Jersey Village, this great state of Texas, and may you bless these United States of America. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember. We have no presentations this evening, so therefore that brings us to item D, election items. Item D1, discussion with possible action to consider ordinance number 2022-15, canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the general election held on May 7th, 2022 for the purpose of electing city council members place 1, place 4, and place 5. Council members, at this time, each of you should have in front of you an envelope for the canvass of the election. You may open that envelope at this time. We have in front of us the returns from the election. For council member place 1, Drew Wasson received 61 mail-in ballots, votes through mail-in ballot, 435 votes early voting, 191 votes on election day for a total of 687 votes. Council member place 4, Jim Fields received 39 votes through mail-in ballot, 290 votes through early voting, 111 votes on election day for a total of 440 votes. James Singleton received 37 mail-in votes, 306 early votes, 146 votes on election day for a total of 489. And for council member place 5, Jennifer McCray received 64 votes via mail-in ballot, 439 votes through early voting, 197 votes on election day for a total of 700 votes. The official canvass of the returns of the general election held on May 7th, 2022 reflects that the following persons were duly elected to the respective positions. Council member place 1, Drew Wasson. Council member place 4, James Singleton. Council member place 5, Jennifer McCray. And unless any council members have a question or any discussion on this item, I would entertain a motion on ordinance 2022-15.
I motion to approve ordinance 15. Wait, 15, sorry.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second on approval of the ordinance. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. This completes the canvass of the general election held on May 7th, 2022 for the City of Jersey Village with a total of 953 voters. Next on our agenda, we're going to take two different items on the agenda at the same time. The issuance of certificate of election to the newly elected officials and the administration of oath of office to the elected and newly elected officials. Okay, the next item on our agenda, recognition and presentation of service award to Gary Wibbenhorst, outgoing council member. Gary, if you want to join me at the podium. Well, Gary, I will say that we've had some pretty epic debates and discussions on council over the years. We didn't always see eye to eye on how to get where we were going, but I think that the one thing that we always kept in mind is we both saw the city going in the same direction. And I want to thank you for your many years of service on council, for helping us get where we are today, which is certainly, I think, a better place than it was when you started in 2016, when I started in 2017. Want to thank you for all of your service, not only on council, but also with the Jersey Village Fire Department. You've been a tremendous contributor on our city council. We hate to see you go, but maybe every once in a while if we need some tips on the golf course or the fire department, just from a volunteer perspective, then I still have your number. I'm going to give you a call. So thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. You want to say a few words? Okay, we are going to stand in recess for a few minutes. We do have some refreshments over here, so feel free to grab some cookies or a bottle of water, and that will also give an opportunity for us to make the transition for our new council member to join us on the dais. So we'll probably recess for roughly about 10 minutes or so. All right? Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Somebody bumped it.
Can you hear me okay, Sherry?
Don't forget to unmute, Bob. You're muted. Hey, Bob, you're muted.
Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and resume the meeting at 7:22 p.m. I think we recessed at about 7:13, if I remember correctly. So we are going to move on in our agenda to citizens' comments. Citizens who have signed a card and wish to speak to the City Council will be heard at this time. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, unless the subject matter of the comment is on the agenda, the city staff and City Council members are prevented from discussing the subject and may respond only with statements of factual information or existing policy. Citizens are limited to 5 minutes for their comments to the City Council. The first comment card I have is from Joel, is it Dejan?
Oh, okay. Greetings. My name is Joel Dejan, and I am the LaRouche Independent Congressional candidate for the new 38th District, which includes Jersey Village. Now, I want to go back a few years. Back in 1999, less than 1 month after NATO started bombing Belgrade in the center of Europe, the Columbine High School massacre occurred, where 13 people were killed. Now, 4 years ago, today, May 18th, another massacre occurred in Santa Fe, near here, in Texas. 4 days ago, you had the massacre in Buffalo, New York. Now, what's the common denominator? Well, even the New York Times was forced to admit that the manifesto of the teenage killer included the Nazi emblem called the Black Sun, which is the same Nazi emblem used by the Azov Battalion in Ukraine. Now, 3 years ago, 40 Democratic congressmen signed a letter to Secretary of State at the time, Michael Pompeo, demanding that the U.S. not supply weapons and training to the Azov Battalion. Now, the Azov Battalion is the leading part of the Ukrainian army, which we are using as a proxy to fight Russia. Now, the last time I read the U.S. Constitution, the Congress is still responsible for declaring war. Now, as far as I know, we have not declared war on Russia, but we are using Ukraine as a proxy. So what ye sow, ye shall reap. So why should we be surprised that young teenagers and others are committing mass murders in the United States when we, for the last 20 plus years, have been spreading weapons and mass destruction in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, everywhere except Saudi Arabia, which was the country that financed and supplied the hijackers that killed 3,000 Americans on American soil on September 11th. Now, if we continue down this road, and by the way, my Republican opponent, Capitan Wesley Hunt, a graduate of West Point, is running on his record in Operation Iraqi Freedom, where he flew 55 combat attack missions in his attack Apache helicopter. And for his service, he was rewarded by giving a diplomatic position in Saudi Arabia. Now, I have issued a challenge to Wesley Hunt, who, by the way, is supported by Michael Pompeo and the former Secretary of State of the Bush, H.W. Bush administration, James Baker III. I have asked Wesley Hunt, what was he doing in Saudi Arabia? So if we continue down this road of pushing NATO, we're taking on 2 more members, Sweden and Finland. We're pushing, doubling the boundaries, the area which touches on Russia. We are pushing NATO further and further to the east. By the way, Secretary of State Baker, when he was Secretary of State for H.W. Bush, promised the Russians that if we allowed Germany to reunify, we would not move NATO 1 inch to the east. Well, we didn't move 1 inch, we moved 1,000 kilometers. So that's what's behind this war in the center of Europe. Now, what is to be done? We have to have a new security and economic architecture that will provide security for Russia, for Ukraine, and begin to dismantle NATO, which is...
That's time, Mr. Dejan. Thank you very much for your comments. The next card I have is from Mark Malloy.
Hi, my name's Mark Malloy. I live at 7803 Hamilton Circle, past city council member for the city of Jersey Village, Texas. Citizens' comments for the 05/18/2022 city council meeting. Please make my verbal comments and documents given to the city secretary a permanent record of this meeting. I'm here tonight to talk to and ask questions of the Jersey Village government officials and city manager. I and several other Jersey Village citizens attended the first of 3 or 4 Jersey Village budget workshop meetings to be held to develop the future budget for the city's 2022-2023 year. Why was this meeting held at 1 p.m. in the afternoon on a weekday when many of the Jersey Village citizens, taxpayers are working to make a living and are not able to have the opportunity to attend? During the budget workshop meeting, there was discussion by the Jersey Village government and city manager about increasing the Jersey Village citizens' property tax homestead exemption from the current 14% to 20%, and there was information in the city council budget work packet about options of increasing the 65-year and older JV homeowners additional property tax exemption from the current $100,000 to as much as $180,000. A current election contested city council member on the day of the May 7, 2022 election on a social media website made the statement, "During this coming budget year, we will be increasing homestead to 20%. How does this individual make this statement to the citizens of Jersey Village, guaranteeing that the homestead exemption will be increased unless they already have the promise of at least 2 other current sitting council members that they will vote to approve the homestead exemption increase to 20%? The JV government has grandiose plans to build a new, currently estimated to cost $10.25 million City Hall building complex on the south side of US 290 in their Village Center Dream development, and have said that their reasoning is that the past development group that told them it needed to be located there as an anchor for the development. The development group is no longer in the picture and was paid an estimated $489,000 for architectural renderings and planning, and is now not going to be the current plan. From a town hall discussion with the mayor, the new development group is saying they need a new city hall building built on the south side of US 290 as an anchor to spur development. I believe the JV government is the force behind moving City Hall to the south side of US 290 because they want the JV citizens, taxpayers, irreversibly tied to the Jersey Village government's dream of expanding the size of the city by annexing and incorporating a large landmass on the south side of US 290. The JV government has amassed millions of dollars in excess revenue over past years, which allowed them to buy an estimated 33.9 acres of land located on the south side of US 290 for $8.25 million without the JV citizens' taxpayers' specific vote on the use of such a large amount of the citizens' taxpayers' money. The JV government is now going to spend another already accumulated estimated $5.6 million on their desired new golf course, clubhouse, and event center without the JV citizens' taxpayers' specific vote on the use of such a large amount of the citizens' taxpayers' money. The golf course has been heavily subsidized by the Jersey Village taxpayers all through the estimated 22 years that the city has owned it, and the Jersey Village taxpayers will continue to heavily subsidize the golf course for many years into the future. The Jersey Village government has plans of spending many more millions of dollars on the golf course in the future, and this is not counting the $5.6 million they are going to spend in the near future on a new golf course, clubhouse, and event center. I'm asking the JV government to give the citizens of Jersey Village, Texas, 20% homestead exemption this year and to increase the 65 and over additional homestead exemption from the current $100,000 exemption to $165,000. So anyway, on the deal...
That's time, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next card I have is from Michael Stembridge.
Good evening. Michael Stembridge, 15422 Jersey Drive. I'm here tonight just to state my rationale for applying for the Tiers 3 zone board, tax increment reinvestment zone on my block. As you know, I was probably the staunchest, most vocal opponent of the Tiers 3 zone, talking about the residential one. And I had my reasons. Of course, I was afraid of taxation concerns, afraid of losing wonderful neighbors that we've had for decades. But now I have a mixed feeling. I'm sad to see them go, but I'm also happy because the block has suffered repetitive and severe flooding over the decades, and it's been traumatic. And many of my neighbors have just had enough. They just want out. They want to go and move, and they have this orchestrated, and then they can get out and get free, and God bless them. And so I want to help my neighbors. I want to help my city try to retain tax dollars. I don't want a toothless block of just blank spaces, and that's not good. That's not safe. I want a safe block for my family, and I think revitalizing it is the way to go now. I've had a sea change in terms of my view on the matter. I'm in favor of elevations. I'm in favor of whatever else can be done, projects, city projects, county, state, to mitigate flooding. But I really see this as a chance for my neighbors, many of whom are elderly, many of whom could not climb stairs, and many of them whom just need to get out. I've heard their view, I've heard my view, and I want to help them. This is not a trick. This is just my heart. I genuinely want to. I had a sea change. I mean, I don't know, was it just philosophical, spiritual, but they're gonna demo a house right next door to us. That's fine. That's fine because they're gonna put a better house there, and it's gonna increase the quality of the neighborhood, the quality of the block, and keep it safer, and keep the values up for those that want the values up, and the city can still glean revenue. The city can still keep going, and maybe there are projects that the tiers could orchestrate in the future. I'm not sure. I don't know who else is running for it. And I'm not really sure who you're replacing. I'd like the position. I'm here to state that I would like the position. If I don't receive the position, you're still all my friends. I won't feel any hard feelings about it. But I'm just trying to be of service to others and just get outside of myself for once. And the idea that it's not all about me, but it does affect my family. The quality of life going forward in the future will affect my family, my neighbors. And some of my neighbors just need to get out. They're just like, I want to sell, I need to go. And that's fine. I've come to accept that view. And I need to be able to accept that view, to think of others, not always to think of just myself or just my own family, my own lily pad. There's a bunch of lily pads on that street. So that's basically, I forgot the other issues, but thank you.
Thank you, Mike. The next card I have is from Ron D'Amico.
Okay, well, as you said, I'm Ron D'Amico, and I am also here to spend a couple minutes to talk to you about my desire to be on the TERS 3 board. I live at 15521 Jersey Drive, which of course I've been here for 13 years, and is in the TERS zone. And of course, my house was flooded and renovated after the tax day flood in 2016. I'm not sure if this meeting is being live streamed, but in case it is, I don't want this to be a formal proposal, but I do expect to be married, and my future wife and I intend to live in Jersey Village for a long time in a new home that we build after going through the city buyout process. So I obviously have a vested interest to see that the charter of the TERS is carried out properly to benefit the citizens of Jersey Village, not only from a future tax revenue standpoint, but as an enhancement to the city as a desirable place to live. I lived in a Houston neighborhood called Ayrshire for many years that had Bel Air to the west, West University to the north, and South Side Place to the east. Now, I understand that Ayrshire and Jersey Drive circumstances are quite different, but I have seen how neighborhood improvements, such as what is planned on Jersey Drive, can greatly enhance the owner's interests, the aesthetics of the neighborhood, and as I mentioned, tax revenues to the city. So as a long-term scenario, I would like to see all of the eligible residents participate in the buyout program, but I do appreciate the fact that residents are given the opportunity to make choices that best suit their family's needs. So I don't know if you've seen my application, my background, but my background is accounting. I am a CPA, although I'm no longer in the practice of public accounting. I'm currently the CFO for a nearby family-owned automobile dealership, and my position requires making sound financial decisions every day. So I don't know everything there is to know right now about the TERS zone, but I ask that you consider me for this position and that we move forward with the activities of the TERS so that the city of Jersey Village and its residents will reap its benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. And final comment card I have is from Kimberly Anow.
My name is Kimberly Anow, and I live at 15601 Singapore Lane. As my 7th installment on Jersey Village, I've summarized council minutes of how our government created, changed, and tabled city ordinances as time spanned into the groovy 1970s. Jersey Village is on the site of the former F&M Dairy Ranch for Jersey cattle that Clark Wilcox Henry ran from 1938 to 1948. In the early 1950s, Clark Henry initiated the transition into a housing community, which rapidly was incorporated into its own city on April 16, 1956, complete with learning and conforming to how city and governments and state governments make the sausage. An ordinance is generally used to designate a local law of a municipal corporation, duly enacted by the proper authorities that prescribe general, uniform, and permanent rules of conduct. An ordinance, a local law, or a regulation enacted by a city council is legislative in nature by its own definition. It is to be noted that the municipal ordinance differs from a resolution, as the term ordinance means much more. On June 15, 1970, Ordinance 69 prohibited the aiding and abetting or aiding the escape of prisoners from an officer or failure to assist an officer. Ordinance 70 made it unlawful to leave any worn out or discarded vehicles on any street or within 300 yards of any street in Jersey Village. Ordinance 68 prohibited refuse, paper, trash, manure, peelings, or other litter upon sidewalks, streets, or other public places in the city, and provision for penalty of violation of fine not to exceed $200. Ordinance 82 prompted the vacating, abandoning, or closing a portion of or relocating Juneau Lane while replatting blocks 24 and 29. Ordinance 72 changed the speed limit along Highway 290 inside the city limits from 60 miles an hour to 55. Ordinance 87 proposed an agreement between Harris County and Jersey Village Fire Department providing for the furnishing to Harris County firefighting and fire protection services to all the unincorporated areas of Harris County within 10 miles of the city's incorporated boundaries for compensation of $2,000, being in force from January 1st, 1974 through December 31st, 1974. The vote was unanimous to instruct Mr. Wall to put all builders and developers on notice in writing that the city has an ordinance prohibiting the burning of trash and rubbish in Jersey Village, and that they must cease burning effective immediately. At a subsequent council meeting, there was a presentation by two of the builders concerning the burning of rubbish by the construction workers for warmth on cold days. After considerable discussion, the vote was unanimous to enforce the ordinance on file concerning burning of fires and that the police department be instructed to issue citations to all violators. Approval to adopt Ordinance 76-18 was to create a hospital authority and appoint the hospital authority board if to build a hospital within city limits. In 1978 was approval for beehives, no more than 3 dogs and/or cats per household, and allowed for installation of a traffic signal for 290 at Jersey Drive. Ordinance 79-3 governed food and food handlers within the city, establishing sanitation and disease control requirements for food establishments and for food, and provisions for administration and enforcement. And approval of Ordinance 79-10 created a Department of Parks and Recreation so that we can all enjoy living in our unique village. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Okay, those are all of the citizen comment cards we have, which brings us to the city manager's report. Austin, please.
Mayor and councilors, the report is in front of you, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for the city manager?
Not necessarily a question, and this might be more directed at Robert, but notice the golf course clips the $200,000 mark of revenue in April, and looked like by far the largest April in record. So congratulations to Matt and the team there. They're doing great work, and really proud of all the work they've done.
I was also going to comment on that. It grew about 50,000 from last month, so great job.
Any other questions for the city manager on his report? Okay, we will go ahead and move on in the agenda to the consent agenda. Is there any council member who wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda for consideration during the regular agenda?
I'd like to bring up G7, please.
Okay, G7 will be removed from the consent agenda and considered at the top of the regular agenda. Are there any other propose removals from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda at this time as modified.
I move to approve the consent agenda as modified.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda as modified? All of those against? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Which brings us to the top of the regular agenda, and our item pulled from the consent agenda is consider ordinance number 2022-17, amending the general fund budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022 in the amount not to exceed $104,000 by decreasing various line items from Department 30, Public Works, and Department 39, Parks, and increasing various line items in Department 11, Administration by $104,000. Austin Blease.
Mayor and councilors, with the departure of the Public Works Director, an opportunity has arisen to bring Parks, Public Works, and Recreation departments under one umbrella. Historically, the staff in these departments utilize a lot of the same facilities and they share equipment. As a way to increase efficiencies and bring better cohesion to these areas, I'm proposing to reorganize a reorganization that does away with the directors of those two positions, or those departments, creates an assistant city manager position that would be over all the areas. The Parks and Rec Director, under my plan, will become the assistant city manager. We would also reclassify the engineer in training into a project manager position to oversee the projects citywide. We've got a number of street CIP projects coming up and just a lot of projects on the CIP. Having this position is something we've talked about probably a couple years ago in budget meetings, and feel that this is a great opportunity for this with his background. The plan would also reclassify the Public Works Administrative Assistant position to a Public Works Manager that would oversee the streets, utilities, fleet, and building maintenance. That person's been here for over 5 years, recently completed her master's degree, and is well suited for this job. The third position will be a new Community Development Manager position. This would oversee code enforcement and building permits, and would also focus on economic development. Having somebody to work on economic development has been one of the comprehensive plan goals since 2016, so this would help achieve that. For this fiscal year, we budgeted for a building official. However, our contract with BBG is working out really well, and in my opinion, it's in the best interest of the city to not fill that building official position and continue utilizing the contract positions. So this plan does not increase the number of city employees. It also fits within the budget amounts that we already have, so it's not taking any new money from the fund balance. This plan also shows commitment to staff. As we strive to be one of the best places to work, we can show the staff that there's opportunities to move up as well. We have the staff that we have trained for years to learn and better themselves, and we have the opportunity to promote good people to use their skill sets in a better way with this plan. Happy to answer any questions the council might have.
I had no necessarily any questions. I wanted to point out to congratulate Austin and staff on the innovation at work, right? If you went traditionally, if one went through rote and said, oh, we have an empty position, we'll fill it, yada, 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 and going through the motions, and we'd probably get an excellent person to fill that, and, you know, they'd be around and, you know, business as usual. But we chose to take an alternative path, and I point that out because we've done that time and time again, especially since I've been on council. And I think the innovation saves money. It provides even better experiences for our citizens. And the other thing it does is it provides, in this case especially, a better experience for our city employees, better opportunity, we get to retain them because they're advancing internally as opposed to leaving for those opportunities. So just wanted to point out that and give congratulations and kudos to you and your staff, Austin. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
I had written down similar mayor and council comments, so I'll just say it now that I'm really excited about the direction because while Harry wasn't here very long, we still lose experience, and I would hate to see us continue to lose somebody that has history with the city, and this is a real investment in our people, and they're fully capable of serving these roles. You're not adding any more costs. We're just reclassifying. I think it's a great way to go.
Yeah, I'll say a year ago, I tagged along with our new council members to, it had been 4 years since I had last done a orientation, and I thought, good time for a refresher course, and I got the opportunity to go along with Harry Ward and go and talk to a lot of the public works staff, and it's very apparent that the staff there is doing an extraordinary job. There's tremendous competency up and down the entire staff there. And so I do think that I think this is a perfect opportunity to harness the knowledge and the expertise that is developed in a way that benefits the city, that doesn't increase any of our expenses. And I think it does streamline a lot of things organizationally, particularly because those areas, Parks and Recreation and Public Works, are where the vast majority of our capital expenditures happen. And so having a lot of focus on moving projects along is going to be a big benefit to the citizens in terms of seeing projects moving along and being completed. So I'm very happy to see it. Any other questions or discussion on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion on the ordinance.
I'll motion to approve ordinance number 2022-17.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. So that brings us to the top of our regular agenda. Item H1, consider resolution number 2022-23, electing a mayor pro tem. And this has my name on it. According to Article 2, Section 2.05 of the City Charter, council shall, at its first meeting following the general municipal election, elect one of its members as mayor pro tem. The mayor pro tem shall act as mayor during the absence or disability of the mayor, and shall have power to perform every act the mayor could perform, provided, however, that the mayor pro tem shall be entitled to vote upon all matters considered by the council. If the mayor and the mayor pro tem are absent from a meeting, the council shall elect an attending member to preside over such meeting. Our current mayor pro tem is James Singleton, and at this time, if there are any nominations or discussion regarding the position, they would be in order at this time.
Actually, I'd like to nominate Michelle Mitchum for Mayor Pro Tem. I think she does an excellent job up here on City Council, and I think she does a good job of understanding that the role of City Council, I think she does a good job of understanding that the role of a City Council person is to serve the community as a whole, and I really respect that, and I think she would do a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, we have a nomination for Michelle Mitchum. Any other nominations?
I'm going to nominate at this time James Singleton.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Michelle Mitchum and a nomination for James Singleton. Any other nominations? Okay, at this time, we'll probably, I guess, just go down. I mean, we can purchase however y'all want with the two different nominations. I mean, obviously, Councilmember McCray has stated her nomination. Councilmember Wasson has stated his desire for Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Mitchum, do you have it is a little weird because you've got, if y'all make me cast a tie-breaking vote.
I'll second the nomination for Michelle.
Sorry, Sherry, I totally forgot that you were there.
Sherry, thank you, Sherry.
You can't see my big head on the behind you on the wall there, Bob? I was going to second the nomination.
She has seconded the nomination for Michelle. So we do have a nomination and a second. Is there any further discussion on that nomination? Seeing none, all of those in favor of the nomination of Michelle Mitchum for Mayor Pro Tem, please signify by saying aye.
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 All of those against, I'll signify by saying nay.
Nay.
I'll say nay.
And any abstentions? With that, the nomination of Michelle Mitchum succeeds. Congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem Mitchum. That brings us to item H2, consider resolution number 2022-24, assigning city council members to serve as liaison to various city committees and boards, and this also has my name on it. City council members serve as liaisons to all city boards and committees. In this capacity, council members primarily serve to represent the desires of council to the board. There are no established procedures for assigning liaison positions. With the recent election, the Board of Adjustment and the Golf Course Advisory Committee do not have liaisons appointed. This agenda item has been placed to allow council members to fill any vacant positions and adjust other positions as desired. And just to recap what we do have aside from those vacant positions, currently the liaison to Planning and Zoning Commission and the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee is Drew Wasson. The liaison to the Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals is Sherry Shepard. The liaison to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee is Michelle Mitchum. The liaison to the Golf Course and Advisory Committee was Gary Wubenhorst, so that is going to be vacant. And then the Board of Adjustment was also Gary Wubenhorst. And then TERS number 2 and TERS number 3, the liaison has been James Singleton. And so just by convention, and obviously there's nothing binding us to this, but by convention we have typically kind of recognized seniority on council as being a kind of a starting point for deciding whether to keep committees or maybe look at different positions. If y'all want to discuss kind of whether you would like to keep your current assignment or maybe look at a different one, again, keeping in mind we have 2 open ones that need to be filled.
I think we've also talked or gone down seniority wise too. I would like to stay where I'm at.
I wouldn't mind doing the golf course advisory committee.
Okay, so Councilmember Shepard would like to serve in place of Gary Wubenhorst on the Golf Course Committee.
I would like to remain on Parks and Rec.
Okay, so Michelle Mitchum, remaining Parks and Recreation Committee.
And I'm happy to stay on P&Z and capital improvements, although it will be a little lonely without Jen McCray on there.
All right. So that leaves, if I'm keeping tabs on everything, Sherry, I'm assuming then you would be interested potentially in letting the Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals go. I know it's riveting work, but...
No, I'm willing to let it go.
I thought so. So that does leave the Building Board of Adjustment and Appeals and the Board of Adjustment, not to be confused with one another. They are 2 different committees. If anyone needs an I'll just go ahead and explain it. The Building Board of Adjustment and Appeals, trust me, I needed an explanation the first time because I thought they were the same thing. Building Board of Adjustment and Appeals, I believe, primarily handles appeals from a decision of the building official regarding, things such as whether or not their permit is expired or not, or whether or not a denial of a permit, things of that nature. The Board of Adjustment typically handles requests for variances from our existing zoning ordinances, our land use ordinances. So it's very important work, and I will say the Building Board of Adjustment and Appeals typically meets very rarely.
Yes, that'd be correct. They don't really have very many opportunities to meet or reasons to meet. And the Board of Adjustment meets about 5 or 6 times a year.
So, Councilmember McCray, do you have an interest in one or both?
I'll take whatever you guys want to give me. I'm good.
I will say when I was on the liaison for Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals, I think it met once in 2 years that I was on that committee. So
That'll be great.
okay, good deal. So if I have this correct, it will be Drew Wasson for Planning and Zoning. It will be Councilmember McCray for Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals, Michelle Mitchum, Parks and Recreation, Councilmember Shepherd for the Golf Course Advisory Committee, Councilmember McCray for Board of Adjustment, and Councilmember Singleton remaining with TERS number 2 and TERS number 3.
One thing I did want to mention, the Board of Adjustment does meet during the noon hour, and I don't know if you will be able to do that.
How often does that one meet?
That's the one that meets about 5 or 6 times a year.
I can probably make it work.
And we're organizing a meeting right now.
I look forward to that email.
And I will say, worst case scenario, if for any reason you can't make it, and if it's important that we have a council member there, I'm sure we can kind of work that out. Heck, I could even probably handle that on occasion if need be. So, yeah, we can probably make that work. So if that list sounds accurate, I would entertain a motion at this time on the resolution.
I move we approve Resolution 2022-24, assigning council members to serve as liaisons.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes. That brings us to item H3, consider resolution number 2022-25, appointing a director to fill the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2023 for position 2 on the City of Jersey Village Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 3. Lori Cootie, City Secretary.
Thank you, Mayor. The Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 3 board consists of 9 directors, to include a member from the State Senate and the House of Representatives, as well as a member from each taxing unit located within the TERS 3 district. In order to serve on the TERS 3 board, with the exception of the state senator and the state House representative members, all other board members shall be at least 18 years of age and own real property in TERS number 3, or be an employee or an agent of a person that owns real property in TERS number 3. Any board member who ceases to possess such qualifications shall automatically be deemed to have vacated their membership on the board. Katie Moore, who serves in position 2 on the board, has tendered her resignation because she no longer resides within the borders of the TERS 3 district. This item is to appoint a director to fill the unexpired term ending December 31, 2023 for the position number 2 on the City of Jersey Village Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 3 board.
Okay, thank you, Lori.
I wanted to also mention that there were 2 applicants for this to be considered for this position, and you'll find them in your meeting packet.
Thank you. The 2 applicants we have here are Michael Stembridge and Ron D'Amico, and luckily we heard from both of them tonight. So thank you to both of you for coming out and speaking. Any discussion on this resolution?
I wanted to, it's rare, I think we've never had this when, or it's very rare that a candidate for a board will come up and address council. So I wanted to thank both Michael and Ron for approaching us tonight and stating your case. That's very much appreciated.
Or if anyone, if there's no discussion, if anyone has a nomination that they would like to offer.
It's interesting that nobody has a comment. I was trying to avoid talking about this appointment, mainly because I am the liaison and so many people decided to personally attack me about it. I think they're both great applicants. They both support the TERS. Mr. D'Amico is fairly new to the scene, and Stembridge has been there since the beginning of all of this and has become rather educated on the topic. I think either one of them would serve just fine.
I believe the other applicant has also lived here 13 years.
It's really, I will say that that's one thing. It's hard to be in Jersey Village. It doesn't matter how long you live here. There's always somebody that's been here longer. So, yeah.
My comment wasn't to how long they lived here. It was more that were they involved, and did they come to the meetings? Did they come to the town hall? Did they discuss the TERS with everybody?
I apologize, sorry.
I'm going to interject and state the case that I think Mr. Stembridge, and I know, has gone to Harris County Court and addressed the commissioners about the plight of flooding in Jersey Village. And as he said, he's addressed council several times and asked for assistance or promoted alternatives, and I think that I think his voice would be well received on TERS, and he could bring a good perspective on that. So I will go ahead and nominate him for the position.
I'll second the nomination.
Okay, we have a nomination and a second for Michael Stembridge. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the nomination? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously. I'm sorry, Lori, do we need to actually pass that in the form of the resolution, or are we fine with that?
Let's go ahead and make a motion for the resolution.
Okay, so we obviously we know where everyone stands on the motion, so if we could make that motion in the form of the approval of the resolution, that'll clean that up.
I move that we approve Resolution 2022-25, appointing Michael Stembridge to fill the vacancy in Position 2 on the Tiers 3 board.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution? All of those against? Any abstention? The resolution passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mike. That brings us to item H4, consider resolution number 2022-26, appointing alternate non-voting members to alternate positions A1, A2, and A3 on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for the unexpired term ending September 30th, 2023. Lori Cootie, City Secretary.
Thank you, Mayor. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee consists of 7 regular voting members and 3 alternate non-voting members. Currently, all 3 alternate non-voting member positions are vacant. Vacancies occurring in the alternate positions are filled by City Council for the unexpired term of the vacated alternate member's office. The current term of office for all alternate members began on October 1, 2021 and will expire on September 30, 2023. This item is to appoint alternate non-voting members to serve on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. There were 4 applicants included in your meeting packet, and we will need to assign each person according to the number. So we just can't say, X, Y, Z, we need them for each number.
And Lori, if I understand correctly, it is because in the event of a vacancy, A1 becomes the active member. Is that correct?
That's correct. The alternates are non-voting unless there's somebody doesn't show up for the 7 regular members, and then alternate 1 would be the first person to fill in, then alternate number 2, and then alternate number 3. And it also works that the alternate members will, if somebody of the regular members resign or leave, vacate office, the alternate 1 will then move up automatically into that vacant position, and then 2. So it does matter which order you appoint them.
Got it. Thank you very much. So with that, any discussion amongst council on the appointments?
Yeah, I just went by age of their application on this one. Actually, all of them have been very involved. And so I was going to recommend A1 to, based on when the application was applied in the packet, A1 to Andrea Grimm, A2 to Nancy Manlove, and A3 to Rachel Beasley.
I was going, oh, I'm sorry, that was very loud. Being in the meetings, I will say I was going to recommend Nancy. Do you want to do one at a time or your whole slate? Nancy Manlove, A1. She's been to the last several meetings, and she's been a very interactive part of the last few events we've had. I think she brings an expertise of event planning that the city has not seen before. So I definitely would like her considered for A1. My slate recommendation was A1 for Nancy Manlove, A2 to Rachel Beasley, very excited that she applied, and A3 to Robin Taylor.
I read through these, and I know I've met 2 of the 4. I personally have met them, and I would recommend, the feedback's tough here. Hold on, I'm sorry. I would recommend Rachel Beasley. Thank you. Rachel Beasley for A1 and Robin Taylor for A2. Based on what I see when they're at school and when I've talked to them, Rachel and Robin both have younger children, and they are very vested in what this committee would do for the citizens here.
Any other thoughts? We kind of got quite the variety of slates here, so we may need to kind of look at where the agreement is and then sort the rest out. Drew, do you have thoughts on, or Sherry, do you have thoughts on the nominations?
I was gonna agree with Michelle's slate, A1 with Nancy, A2 being Rachel, and A3 being Robin. I agree with the event planning aspects of it for as reasoning for having Nancy in the A1 position.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for those who don't know, Nancy Manlove was the person who coordinated the chili cook-off at the Founders Day event. So, yeah, that's definitely one of her strengths.
I was going to say she's already volunteered with this committee and by her appearances at the meeting been advisory. And that's what I was going to strongly offer, was that Nancy, would be a great asset to actually be a voting member when that appears. So I have no qualms with her as A1.
I would very much like to make sure we see Nancy Manlove and Rachel Beasley end up on the committee.
So it sounds like we have consensus regarding Nancy Manlove and Rachel Beasley, and we've kind of got a mix on the third position.
I'll just mention Robin Taylor, just speaking to her about this, and as passionate as she seems for it with her children. I know she has a kindergartner and she has a younger child. I think we're looking at a person that is interested in JV for the long haul, and I think that's important when we consider these appointments.
And is she also the JV Stars? She's a liaison with JV Stars.
Miss,
go ahead.
Andrea has been in the city for many years. Her kids are grown. But I think she plans on being committed to Jersey Village for a long, long time. And this committee had some people move off of it that didn't have children. And right now it leans very heavy with younger families with children. And that is not the only thing that Parks and Recs does. And I think that she would provide some good viewpoints.
That was going to be my other comment, and I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for Robin also to get involved. So I would agree with, we provide the third, my slate would be Nancy, A1, Rachel, A2, and Andrea Grimm, A3.
So, and pardon me, keeping track of three people among three spots amongst five council members can be a little tricky. If I'm keeping track correctly, I think amongst council members McCray, Shepherd, and Mitchum, I think it sounds like the three of you are aligned on Nancy Manlove, Rachel Beasley, and was it Robin Taylor? Did I hear that correctly? If I remembered correctly?
You're correct,
Yes.
Mayor.
Okay, so I think, and then we've got.
And for simplicity, I'm just going to second his slate and throw mine out.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we have. I would, just because I think that this is going to be easier, I think I would entertain a motion at this time to approve the resolution with the slate of Nancy Manlove, Rachel Beasley, and Robin Taylor. If anyone would like to make that motion.
You would like me to motion to approve it?
I would like anyone to make that motion just because I think that's the one that has the votes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-26 with Nancy Manlove as A1, Rachel Beasley as A2, and Robin Taylor as A3.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? By a vote of 3-2, the resolution passes. Not to cut you off, but that was kind of the tea leaves read that way. So congratulations to all of you, and I would, any of the applicants, I'll wait till we get towards the end, but I'll just say don't take that as a bad thing. There are always openings that happen. If you didn't get selected, keep coming back because opportunities come up all the time. Although we do have one more, because that brings us to item number H5, considered resolution number 2022-27, appointing a commissioner to fill the unexpired term ending September 30th, 2023, for position 2 on the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. Lori Cootie, City Secretary.
Thank you, Mayor. The Planning and Zoning Commission is a 7-member commission appointed by the mayor with approval of the council. Each member shall be a resident of the city and shall be appointed to serve a term of 2 years. P&Z members also serve on the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. Should a vacancy occur, the mayor with approval of the council shall appoint a person to complete the unexpired term for the vacant position. Effective May 18, 2022, Jennifer McRae, who served in position 2 for this commission, tendered her resignation to take a seat on City Council. Her resignation is attached or included in the meeting packet. Ms. McRae has served on the commission since her appointment in January of 2019. In order to prepare for this item, the notice was placed in the city website. It was in the JV Star and the city's Facebook page. Additionally, while some applicants have been submitted, some applications were submitted some time ago, I did contact those applicants to confirm their desire to be considered for this appointment. There are 5 interested applicants that were included in the packet.
Okay, thank you, Lori. So we do have 5 applicants for 1 seat. So a little bit different from what we were looking at earlier. Is there any discussion amongst council regarding the applicants?
As far as Andrea Grimm for this position, I think this might be a really good fit. She's longtime real estate, and I think she has a nice investment in improving the city. And then I also wanted to make mention of Ashley Brown. I think she also would be really good in this position.
I just wanted to take a second and not a specific comment about anything, but having served on P&Z, I think it's really important for people to realize the impact of the placement of people on planning and zoning. What P&Z does, it truly does make it matters, and it makes a big difference on what happens up here. And I think it's really important that we consider that when people are placed on there, that they're going to look at things from an objective manner.
It's always great to have plenty of applicants. Would note that Nestor Mena has been passed over several times. David Locke's application has a note that he has the support of Rick Faircloth, which I put lots of weight on. I think he would be an excellent addition to this board. And I think Ashley Brown, after campaigning, has significant insight to citizens, and I think Ashley or David Locke would be my preference.
The other one I wanted to point out was if I read about Drew Weaver, it seems to have significant experience. My link isn't working. Hold on, I made notes. Thank you. He's the engineer, and I also think that's something that would be could be a possibly good addition to that group.
In fact, he has his degree from the University of Houston, so go Cougs. That's always a bonus in my book.
I also flagged Drew's application. He's mechanical engineer, several project management experience in the residential and commercial construction. Great applicants.
You can't argue with the name.
This is a tough one. They're all great applicants.
I had marked Andrea and Nestor as the top two of my candidates.
I move we approve Resolution 2022-27, appointing Ashley Brown.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of Ashley Brown, please signify by saying aye. All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously. That brings us to item H6. Consider resolution number 2022-28, awarding the bid and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Main Lane Industries Limited for the Seattle Street reconstruction project. Austin Blees, city manager.
Mayor and councilors, we opened bids for the Seattle Street project on May 3rd. The type of bid we went out for is not just lowest bid, but the best qualified, where we rank each of the respondents on a matrix, with cost being 50% of the total structure here. Based upon that and the reviews by the engineers and staff, we are recommending Main Lane Industries for this project. The low bid for their bid, I should say, for the project came in at just under $3.3 million, which is significantly higher than what we had estimated. But we are utilizing for this project $624,835 from congressional community funded projects that we worked with Congressman Fletcher's office to receive. We're working with Flood Control District to secure just over $225,000 for storm sewer improvements for the project as well. And the plan will be to utilize approximately $1.5 million in the American Rescue Plan funds for this project. The remaining $947,000 would come from the Capital Improvement Fund balance, which was previously earmarked for street improvements. So we do have the funds and we're receiving outside funds to do this project. While bids did come in way higher, we do have an opportunity to utilize one-time funds or outside funds for this project, which we would not normally get to.
Okay, any discussion on this particular resolution?
This is a more generic question about street improvements. I know there are variables to every street, what's underneath, how much drainage and whatnot, but would we consider, I'm going to guess with inflation and cost of goods, the next street improvement we do to be at this level or the next price tag?
Staff is thinking about $4 million, the all-in cost. That includes engineering, inspections, and everything for the next street project. Inflationary costs are a big thing right now. Prices could go up or down, most likely not down. But our magic 8 ball right now is $4 million for the next project.
Yeah, this is something that we've been dealing with. I say we've been dealing with. I think everyone on some level has been dealing with inflation impacting sort of their estimates or their costs for to buy things. And we've continued to see various projects, particularly when you're talking about projects that come with a significant use of materials, concrete, steel, whatever the case may be, and those costs have continued to rise. You can always play the game of, does it go down once supply chain issues subside? How long will it take before supply chain issues subside? And even once they do, does inflation wind up carrying it even further along the way? As I said, when we did the event to announce the awarding of the federal grant, kind of the bread and butter of city government is ensuring that we maintain things like streets and sewer and water and all of that. I know that this is more expensive than we anticipated. The one thing that does give me some indication that this is not just a fluke, it is definitely just the cost that is involved here, is the fact that all of the bids came back within a couple $100,000 of one another. I mean, just very much in a narrow lane. So we know that more likely than not is a very fair reflection of where the market is. So I think that it's something that we need to move on now rather than gambling with the possibility that it may get cheaper later on, which is not likely to be the case. Is there any further discussion on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to consider to pass Resolution 2022-28.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye. All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes. Which brings us to item H7, discuss and take appropriate action regarding staffing and pool hours of operation for the 2022 pool season, including consideration of resolution number 2022-29, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for pool management services. Robert Bassford, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, Mayor Warren, councilors. Bringing this to council tonight to discuss the pool operations of this upcoming season. As we approach the upcoming pool season, staff has requested feedback from council pertaining to the pool schedule, potential staffing scenarios listed below. Without changing service to our stakeholders, the pool is set to operate for 679 hours a season starting May 28th and closing September 6th. We typically employ 15 to 18 lifeguards and 2 cashiers each pool season. Within this number, we include 2 to 4 pool managers paid at a higher rate. Each 1-hour shift will utilize 1 cashier, 3 to 4 lifeguards, and 1 to 2 pool managers for a total of 6 employees on staff each hour. We historically have 3 guards on stand, 2 off assisting with routine pool maintenance, taking a break, or assisting from the pool deck if needed, and we rotate every 30 minutes. Currently set to pay our cashier $9 per hour, our lifeguards $11 per hour, and our pool managers $13 per hour. We currently have a budget of $50,000. As of May 10th, we have the potential to hire 7 lifeguards, depending on certification, interview, and pre-employment screening. As of May 18th, we have the opportunity or the potential to hire 8 lifeguards. Due to the industry labor shortage, we have to consider some alternatives in order to achieve optimal service for our residents. Agencies nearby are experiencing similar issues when it comes to staffing, and there's evidence that this problem is on the national level. I've listed some alternative options, and I'm open to any other alternatives you guys may recommend as well. Option number 1 would be considering raising the rate of pay for lifeguards and pool managers. Basically, this illustrates how many lifeguard hours we would use, cashier hours, manager hours we would use, and their potential budget impact if we keep the rate at $11 and $13, move the rate to $13 for lifeguards and $15 for pool managers, and if we were to move to $18 per hour and $20 per hour for pool managers. Option number 2 would be consider entering a pool management contract. This would be to contract with an outside company to staff our pool. We solicited 3 contracts. 1 contract withdrew due to the same labor shortage that we're experiencing. Contract 1 is with Sunny Days Pool Management, and contract 2 is with Swim Houston Pool Management. And option number 3 would be consider a combination of a rate adjustment combined with reduced pool hours to minimize the budget impact. It's important to note that, raising the lifeguard rates may currently impact the pool schedule for the first few weeks of the season as we work to fill our staff. I'm open to any other alternatives you may recommend and open to any questions you may have.
Okay, any discussions or questions from council on this item?
I reviewed the 2 contracts and have talked with some neighbors about this, and I would propose that we strike option 2 from this conversation pretty much immediately. My reasons for that, I went through and read those contracts, and it allows them to have their own parties, and they charge us $20 to $25 an hour for a lifeguard. So why would we pay them more instead of keeping control of the pool? Because there are other things in those contracts, required equipment, damages, there's a lot of things they're not liable for, but yet we have to give them the pool and hope they manage it correctly. I'm not saying anything bad about either one of these companies. I just don't like the idea of we're managing the pool. Our problem is some staffing issues. They're going to charge us twice the cost that we're currently paying for a lifeguard. Why would we not just increase the hourly rate and try to continue to manage it ourselves? That way we don't have to deal with some of the problems those contracts present. So as far as our other options, I was a little surprised to find out it was 11 an hour. I was talking with a former council member, and I thought we had already raised some hourly rates, but I guess I don't think we actually took official action on it after thinking about it for a while. So coming up to 13 to 15 is probably where we need to go. Looking at the market, the city of Houston's paying, I think, $13.66. They're offering incentives. There's several other areas in Houston offering that. And I'm fine with considering some reduction in hours in order to meet budget. But budget's also a projection, and I would be happy to allow city manager, park staff to look at what our actual numbers are and make an educated decision on where to go with that. Or we can authorize going over budget a little bit. I'm fine with changing the budget numbers.
So we do have enough budget to get, through to at least to the July meeting. If we felt we need to bring in a budget amendment at that point so we didn't go over, we could come back later.
That sounds like a good plan. So I would suggest that the conversation's more about what would be an appropriate hourly rate.
I was going to say, I absolutely agree. And then I think even Robert was saying that the other cities who used staffing agencies still were unsuccessful. So it just seems like a smart choice to scrap that.
I agree, especially the pool management contract. I don't think that's the right choice. I read exactly what you did, James, and the stuff was basically like we're handing the keys of the pool over to a different company for people that aren't even from here, and they do not have our vested interests in heart. And I think that's important to remember. As for the pay, I spoke to a very well-known lifeguard in our area, and her comment to me was that no self-respecting lifeguard wants to sit out in the hot sun all day and yell at children for less than $15 an hour. And because they can go to Target right now, Target is now offering, as of yesterday, apparently $19 an hour, which makes me question a lot of things in my life. But that does make me think that, regardless of how people feel about that stuff, the pool is important. The access to the pool is important to people that live here. I know as a parent, that pool is very important to my sanity during the summer. So I think that considering a rate hike to make this the incentive, if this can become the thing that, your high school kid can want this job, because there are cities where they do actually have, a line of people out the door that want a lifeguard. And I think that would be something that JV can strive to do. And I think the way to it at this point in time is money.
Yeah,
I will concur with crossing out the pool management company. It's just not the best interest of Jersey Village at this time. And I like that middle tier rate increase. I think it's in line with the market. And the other alternative, as opposed to cutting back hours, my thought is we did an assessment last year, I think, of volume of attendees during certain hours. Perhaps we look at, and I'm sure you guys have done this and just haven't expressed it, have looked at certain hours or trends when we could actually have one less guard on staff, right? Where it's not, I don't know if that's a safety concern or if that's possible, and I don't know if that would make a material financial difference. I leave the operations to the smarter people in the room. But I would invoke that, if we went with the 13 and 15 in that area, if we assess maybe if we're not getting bites, then go even more. I don't think the 18 to 20 we're there yet. But I'd like to, I think there's a lot of opportunity for people to work, and do the work of lifeguards. And if we went there.
My question to the 13, 15, 13 is the standard lifeguard and 15 is the pool, who is the supervisor, and there's one of those on staff?
Yeah, typically you'll have one on each shift. Sometimes we have two.
Although I wish this problem was a few months ago, so we did have the time to test the waters. But I'm afraid that we're going to run into this and we won't meet again until June, towards the end of June, and then we will find ourselves in a little bit of a pickle. Is there any way to do an option D where it's just a flat rate of 15?
I mean, yeah, that's up to you guys. That's looking for direction from council. Typically, your pool managers have a little more responsibility. That's why they get a slight rate adjustment.
We don't typically set hourly rates for any employee. And do y'all think you have enough feedback at this time to maybe go and start making some decisions? And if we need to do a budget increase, we do that?
Right. So this was all budget related because obviously salaries impact budgets, which is why it's here. But yeah, typically council doesn't set the rates. But I feel comfortable, at least with this conversation. I think Robert and I know where we need to go, and we can move forward from here. And we'll bring a budget amendment back July or August for sure.
Yeah, I will just say, I hear, especially during the summer, more about the pool than I hear about any other issue. So I understand how important this is to many, many people out there in Jersey Village. In my mind, we're looking at, and I'm assuming the budget impact means what the deviation is from our current budget for that. You're talking about, when you're looking at the $13 and $15 per hour, you're talking about roughly a $30,000 impact of the budget. When we're talking about $18 to $20 per hour, a little over $47,000. I think that people in Jersey Village expect that pool to be open and to be open in hours that they're used to it being open. And if we have to pay a premium in order to get that done, because I know right now we're kind of behind the eight ball. If at least I'm assuming that these dates that are present in the contract are kind of what we were planning on. So we're talking about a pool that's supposed to open in 10 days. If it takes $18 an hour to get the lifeguards there for opening day, that we can actually have the pool open in a safe manner, I think we'll make the money work later on. Staff has done a fantastic job with making sure that we remain well inside of the budget. We're already on track for a surplus. I think we'll be all right. That's not going to cause any significant impact either way.
Mr. Mayor, I'd agree with everything you said except for paying a premium. I don't think it's a premium. I think it's a standard rates.
I was just basing it off the city of Houston's rate, but I think you're right. There are places where they are paying that much. So, all right.
Robert,
go ahead.
Was Josh able to certify lifeguards?
He did not in-house.
Have we ever had anybody in-house that did that?
We plan to do so.
Okay. I was just trying to relate back to our previous approval change in investing in our people. Is I know next year, we've talked about this, that next year we're going to be able to certify our own lifeguards and save significant money. Because one of the things that neighbors and people brought up was there's a ton of mamas that would be happy to get certified and serve some time up there if that's what it took to have the pool. So I'd do it.
We considered moving that up to this year, but the only available class is the opening weekend of the pool in Dallas.
So, Mayor, Councilors, I just want to be clear that given our current number of lifeguards that we have right now, I do not believe we're going to be able to open on May 28th with normal hours. We'll be able to open with reduced hours, but I just want to make sure everybody's fully aware that until we get more staff, we're not going to be able to do normal hours like we used to.
Is there something we can do to make sure that we're ramping up the marketing and advertising of needing the lifeguards and making sure that we're being aggressive in that area?
We could probably do a TikTok video.
I'd like to see that. Is that a promise?
We'll have to ask somebody that does TikTok, because I don't.
I'm available.
Okay, well, it sounds, unless anyone else has any other feedback, it sounds like staff has the information they need to be able to move forward. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. So then that brings us to mayor and council comments. I'm going to start on this end with Councilmember Mitchum.
I just wanted to say thank you to Gary and his service. I know he already jetted off, I'm sure, to toast. And welcome. Welcome, welcome. You're going to love it. And Father's Day, I don't know if we meet again before Father's Day. Well, I don't have that memorized. I think we do not. So happy Father's Day to all of you fathers up there.
Actually, I'll go to Councilmember Shepherd.
I would second what Michelle said. Thank you to Gary for his service, and welcome to Jen, to the craziness.
Thanks to Gary. I said a tribute last meeting. Well, he was actually here, but he was one of the people that welcomed me onto council, and one of my 4 other mentors, and I appreciate all him, and welcome Jen. I think you'll represent the citizens of Jersey Village very well, and looking forward to great discussions with you. Also, happy Father's Day, and it is in 2 weeks, Memorial Day, so let's keep that in our reflections.
Councilmember Singleton.
Well, I made comments last month about Gary. Thank you for his service, and thank you to all that came out and voted. My other comment was going to be Memorial Day. It's May 30th, and please take some time out of your day to go. There's several services you can attend. The VA. There's one off of Cutton that I used to go to quite a bit because it wasn't as crowded. It's a very smaller event, but please take some time on Monday to remember those that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Councilmember McCray.
Thank you. First, I'd like to agree with what everybody else just said. And thanks to Gary, and thank you for the support, guys. I really appreciate that. And I did want to say how much I appreciate the citizens of Jersey Village putting their trust in me to help make good decisions for the city. And I also wanted to say, go Astros.
All right. Excellent first public comment. Closing comments. I'm going to take a slightly different tack, although I'll circle back to what other people have said. Council was informed last month that Bob Blevins, our Director of IT, will be retiring from the city effective June 5th. Bob has spent 19 years with the city of Jersey Village. He has 48 years of experience in the IT sector. That is a tremendous amount of experience, both in the industry and with our city. And that's not experience that you replace. That is just, you hope to be able to just be able to keep things moving in a smooth manner. And I have no doubt that Bob is putting us in a position to be able to make a smooth transition. But Bob, it's a retirement that is very well deserved. I know you've already looking forward to that little vacation home that you've got ready to go to. So congratulations, and you will be sorely missed. But yes, congratulations to Councilmember McCray. It is going to be probably one of the more rewarding and sometimes the more baffling things that you've probably ever done, but it's still definitely worth it. And also wanted to echo, of course, congratulations and thanks to Gary Wibbenhorst for his years of service. I think that's everyone else has pretty much covered it all. So with that, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything else. Nope, that is it. With that, we will adjourn. Thank you very much.